So you said that you made your own content, and you said that you also kind of ran into the same thing of stop making it. So tell me a little bit about some of the content that you have made that like you specifically made, and then some things that you learned from doing that.
So that would be creating my portfolio for like the modeling side of things. That's kind of how I got like my foot in the door, and I think really started booking as well, because I was constantly putting out photos, constantly getting in the studio, and it was really because I needed to learn. I felt like I was old already, just starting, in my younger 20s, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't booking all of the time. But I'm like, well, if I need this to be worth it, then I need to know what I'm doing. So when I get in front of a camera for an audition or a job, I have something to bring to the table.
Yeah, then you step up.
Yeah. So I created, like, I don't know, I worked with Adrian Orozco a lot. He's a headshot photographer in Chicago. And I mean, every single month we were doing photos all the time.
Yeah.
And I was just constantly updating my agents with new photos and everything. And one thing I can say is that, like, the more you can communicate with your agent and show them what you're doing and just be responsive to them, the more likely they're going to remember you when auditions come in.
Yeah.
And send you out on them. So that's one tip, I guess.
Yeah, that's a real game. The game of, like, making sure the agent's actually trying to book you, because they have a bunch of other people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're not their number one.
You're maybe one of like 100 that look exactly like you. I don't know.
Yeah. Which, man, nothing to make you feel unoriginal like that. But
no.
But so then with like booking those photo shoots, is it just because you had a rapport with that photographer, or like how do you get into that kind of circumstance where you can have somebody who wants to go do photo shoots?
That was we just had a personal relationship, and then as friends, as fellow coworkers, we decided, like, hey, like, he wants to book other people for headshots as well. Like, why don't I work with you, and we do these headshot sessions, and I'll also get photos out of it at the end of the day. So we kind of created like a little partnership.
Yeah, and that's smart, and that's something that I stress, like, with my friends all the time, is that it's so important to work with people with their skills and give them a chance to use them. Yeah. Because a lot of, like, my friends in the creative world, like, they couldn't just do things just by themselves. No one can. No. I can't do things. I do this podcast mostly by myself, but still I can't do it without guests or without Joey coming in and helping me with the camera sometimes. So I think it's so important when everybody's kind of like, no one's making money, right? If no one's making money, no one's like doing it, then we all benefit if we just do a project together that we can all put our names on, and we use that as like a template to say, hey, look at what we're capable of making.
And that's the thing. It's like trying to like get yourself out there in any industry, especially a creative industry. It's like, it's all about collaboration, bartering, like you said, skill set sharing, all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, you're coming together as a greater purpose. We all want to make money. We all want to book with clients, and let's put stuff out there so we have the opportunity to actually make money and book.
Yeah, it's so true, because if you make some things together and you're making it for the fun of doing it, and you're learning stuff about yourself, learning stuff about the process, you're developing your skills, like, there's no downside to that. No. If you enjoy doing the thing, and even though nobody's necessarily getting paid in the first, like, the beginning part of that journey, like, there will be a point where you will, and you won't even be worried about it. Right. Because at that point, you'll be enjoying the process so much. You'll be enjoying just making the stuff that it'll just make sense that, of course, it'll make you money on top of it.
Right. Yeah. Like they say, like, do what you love and the money will come. It's so true.
It's so
like,
true.
I didn't go into any of this because I was like, oh, I want to be rich. Yeah. No, I was just like, this is genuinely something that I'm passionate about, and I'm willing to put my time towards, even though it's not making me money right away. But I love doing it. Yeah.
And how did you find that? Like, how did you find out that that was something that you loved doing? What were your first inclinations that, like, oh, I think I might like this acting and modeling stuff?
Well, I think it goes back to, like, I'm driven by challenges a lot, and personal challenges, and breaking through my own barriers. And as I saw that there was an opportunity for me to grow and for me to really develop myself in a way that I was really uncomfortable, especially in front of a camera and especially with dialogue, things like that, it really kept me going. And then the fact knowing that there is an industry behind this passion that I have, so it kind of just naturally fell into its own route the more I invested into it.
Yeah, and that's always how it is that, you start out with something like, this feels right. I don't know what it is. It feels right. And then as it goes on, the road becomes clear.
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned from watching a video where Jason Silva, who I've also quoted a bunch of times on the podcast, he used to be the host of Brain Games on National Geographic, and he had a show on like Current TV or something. But he does these things called Shots of Awe on YouTube. Oh. And they're these 2-minute like inspirational things where he literally freestyles it, kind of like a freestyle rapper, but with like philosophy and ideas and like.
That's so cool.
He's very poetic with his language. He's bilingual. He's Venezuelan, I think. I don't know. I think he was born maybe in America, but I don't know. But he's definitely like his dad's like still lives in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And he has this concept of like, don't have a map, have a compass. Because if you have a compass, you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But the map is rigid. The map is like, I need to go from this street to this street.
A to B.
Which is not necessarily how our lives go.
No.
And so if you have a compass, you're generally going north or you're generally going east or whatever. But you're willing to take whatever path gets you there.
That's true.
And
like you see the bigger vision at the end of the day, but you don't necessarily know the exact route.
Yeah, and you don't need to. You don't need to know when you're going to make a right and a left, and like that's not important. It's like one of those like in the moment you will know what the right decision is, and even if it's the quote unquote wrong decision, it wasn't because you needed to make that decision to then get to the right one.
A learning
later.
experience or something.
Yeah. And if you take that approach, if you take that mentality, then there's no way that you're not going to come away from it stronger, wiser, and smarter. And so then moving forward, everything you're doing, you're getting better and better at making those decisions.
Right.
You're making a more and more direct route. And even on your detours, those detours end up being really fruitful endeavors for you.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the attitude and the perspective that you take when you're doing it.
Well, and the perseverance, like even if it was a detour that temporarily took you off your path of getting there, it's like, well, you know that you won't do that next time. And then it'll also test your I guess, strength in moving forward and continuing that journey, even though you might have to kind of backpedal to get back on that path too.
Totally. And sometimes we have to take a couple steps back to see where we need to make another step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so key, and it's something that I try when I pick guests to come on. I look for things like that where I'm like, what are you doing that maybe the average person is not doing, and what can we learn from that?
Yeah.
And I think you do a lot of those things too, where just how you approach it and how you've done it. I mean, you went in with literally no experience and you just were like, I guess I'm just going to start doing auditions.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to start modeling. And you figured it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing to me. So, because most people, when they get into it, like you at least have some acting experience. And like, other than you said a little bit in high school, was it? Or is it middle school?
Middle school.
Well,
middle school, and then I did do some in college, but
not really. Like that wasn't like the main focal point.
No, it wasn't, because I didn't really like it. Like it was.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to jump through my own personal barriers to invest like I have been recently.
Yeah, and part of your journey, and when you zoom out, you can get the perspective to have that. Part of your journey was to figure out those personal barriers first before you could really do that. And even though part of it was assisted with you doing these things, you did it at your own pace.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the key. Is like everybody wants to rush to be famous. Everybody wants to rush to be successful. Everybody wants it to just be now.
Right.
And in a world where it's instant gratification, we have phones that allow us to get our answers to any question we have within seconds. Like, it's understandable that we are getting programmed that way.
Yeah, I know.
But we have to break that.
Yeah, it's more and more difficult to continue long term with things, and when they're not working, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just gonna do this.
Okay, I'll just quit.
Yeah.
Pivot. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I've even had those thoughts myself. I was like, man, like it's just not what I want it to be right now. But like, you don't give up.
No.
You got to keep going, and you have to adjust your life and still have a good life, make it livable and everything, while you're continuing your passion and your journey, and you'll see the fruits of it, as you go, and in the end as well.
It's so true. It's so true. That's like such a good place to end on. I don't want to spoil it. But Kristen, thank you so much for coming on. How can people like find you, follow you?
I use Instagram a lot. My handle, I guess, is Nunez Kristen, Nunez Kristen, and my website is kristennunez.com. Message me, DM me, whatever. Ask me questions.
Yeah, totally. And I'll put all the links in the description and everything.
Okay.
But thanks again for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And see you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.